Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and today we would like to discuss something very, very relevant for all of us, as the resources on our Earth are limited and they are soon vanishing as the population grows. And how do we live our life comfortably with the limited resources that we have? So, to discuss this further, let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Neville.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. Yes, we're going to introduce you to the concept of recycling, or what's being commonly referred to these days as the circular economy. So, what do you know about economies? Previously, it was called the linear economy. What does that? What does that term bring up into your mind, CK?
Well, if you look at the linear economy, it means that there are some resources available, some minerals and metals available. All you have to do is dig them out and extract them, purify them, and use it for your own purpose. If it is about food, grow the food off the land, and so on. So I think this is what it is. But I know for sure that the metal will not keep coming out from the ground. One day it will deplete and there will be no metal left in the earth. So what will happen to our construction? What will happen to our machineries? How we will actually produce tools to till the land, to grow our crops? So I think this is what is coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we've grown up with it. Really, I suppose in some respects we might call it a Western society, where you create it, you use it, and you dispose of it. And when you dispose of it, you tend to end up putting it into landfill, and landfills grow and grow and grow until they're too big, and then you have to create another landfill. So it's quite ridiculous, really. We're taking things out of the land and we're putting it back in the shape of landfill. So, and all of the problems that landfill provides. But the circular economy, I mean, it's nothing new, really. Um, with any household, we always reuse things and we recycle things wherever possible. The whole concept of having children, the hand me downs. Have you heard that phrase before, CK?
A couple of times.
Just a couple of times. Well, I was lucky. I had brothers. I always felt sorry for some of my friends that had sisters and they were elder sisters because the hand me downs were, adapted. But it was that whole society. It was that sort of 40s and 50s societies post war where there was very limited resources and people literally put their minds to making things out of things that were used for different purposes. I remember my mother, who was a very qualified seamstress. She would be making wedding dresses during the war out of old parachutes because they were silk. They were absolutely beautiful, as long as they weren't ripped. But then again, she could turn anything out of a parachute, from a dress to a shirt to a pair of silk trousers. And so this whole concept of recycling or the circular economy is nothing new. But now what we need to be doing is asking everybody, what are you doing about it? What are you recycling in your home, in your business? How are you getting more use out of it? Let's think about one arena, CK. There's been a huge outcry in the UK over the last 8 or 9 months where kids have been forced to work from home. School became home. Home became school. They were intertwined. And what that meant was everything went digital. But, we're an affluent society here in the UK, and yet only 1 in 3 households has a PC. So that means lots of young kids are suffering from school because they just don't have access to that digital medium, a PC. So the outcry came and businesses responded in their droves, including our own. We looked at our old laptops, and it's amazing what you can recycle from an old laptop, take the data off, and even companies were taking the data off for you, refurbishing it, and donating it into the schools. So, question, is that going on in India? Are machines being recycled because your kids are staying at home? And I'm sure many of their friends are at home and they can't afford PCs necessarily.
Well, we have the extra machines at home, fortunately. But you are absolutely right. I've been hearing that there are new businesses which have emerged who are refurbishing their old laptops and PCs and selling it at a throwaway price. So even for business, in fact, I get one message every day from somebody or the other saying that, hey, if you need a PC, I can give you at a throwaway price. These are all refurbished, repurposed PC for your business. So I think that is already happening.
It's good because actually there's another business. So this circular economy is creating businesses, it's creating work opportunities. And this is very simple. We've had, I don't know about you, but we've had a number of PCs, in our household over the years where the kids have been at school. And typically what we would do is we wouldn't refurbish them. 10 years ago, there wasn't this refurbishing type society. I'd put them in the garage, and then the only option really was, because I'm not one of those engineers that take things apart. I used to, but I don't do anymore. The only way was literally to smash the thing to bits and take out the parts, because there's some incredibly expensive metals in a PC, in a tower, as you and I both know. And companies would literally take them away for you and take all those metals away and recycle the metals. Fortunately, we've advanced from that because we're actually reusing, recycling these PCs into a better purpose. So that's one way we can all do it. What's another way? An obvious way, really?
Well, I want to share something with you recently, which I did
Yeah, please
without.
do.
You see, when you mentioned about old PCs, I think there is a stack of old PCs lying here. We don't know what to do with them. We can't throw them because every time when we think about those old PCs, it has data, it has old pictures, it has all that. So we are just keeping them. These are the real estate that we have. But recently,
They're good doorstops. They're great doorstops, CK.
yeah. So I came across a very old PC of my dad that had only 30 GB of hard disk, and called the technician, and they said, hey, we can't load anything in this because Windows 10 itself will take 30 GB. After that, it will be useless. So I was figuring out. I did my own self study, and I created something called a bootable flash drive. I learned the method. It's quite technical, but I did it. It's not very difficult. All you have to do is learn it. I created a bootable flash drive, and using that, I installed a Linux operating system in this old PC, and voila, it is working. You have Word, you have Excel, you have everything, and this Linux operating system behaves like Windows. It mimics Windows, so the user who is using it doesn't know whether they are using Windows or Linux. It has absolutely no difference in terms of usability, and it works only in 8 GB. So my 30 GB old hard disk with a old PC is now usable again because it is working very fast. The Linux does not take space. So I think it is a sort of a recycling. Instead of buying a new tab or a new laptop with terabytes of space, I could downgrade to a free operating system and use it for my requirement.
That's absolutely brilliant. A great example. And the interesting thing is, we've got lots of examples literally around our own house. I
Yeah, this
saw,
is. I can
go
boot the
ahead.
PC using this. This is a bootable drive, and I can load into 1,000 PCs. I can create another 1,000 PCs of Ubuntu operating system using this bootable drive, and it
There you
costed
go.
me just $300.
There you go. And this is, you see, you went to the experts and they say we can't do anything with it because it's got 30 gig. I mean, Windows 10 would take 30 gig, you know, and immediately they shut themselves down. So the circular economy actually needs to be you. It needs to be you opening yourself up to opportunities and potential. There's been a whole renaissance here about refurbishing your homes. We're sea locked, you know. We have an absolute maximum value of land that we currently have, and clearly some of that land you can't build on. You know, even with the best will in the world, you couldn't build halfway up Ben Nevis because it would be too prohibitive. And I'm sure you've got, you know, pretty big mountain ranges where you are, where you just wouldn't build in the side of the mountain, even if you were allowed to. So that's the other thing, is because some areas are prohibitive to be building on. In the UK, we have this green belt thought process where we can't build on green belt. In other words, within a certain area, development is restricted. So we're all restricted. So people are making more and more of their own properties. They're not moving as much. There's not as many properties available, not as many building plots available. So people are looking at their own properties, refurbishing, but more importantly, they're recycling. I mean, we've seen programs on the TV which are driving the circular economy, if you like, taking us away from the linear approach. We have several programs now where a now famous presenter, they weren't famous originally, but they were famous for doing things, you know, making something out of nothing. And now they're quite famous presenters on TV because we've had a TV series about recycling your old stuff. And it's not just your stuff, but it's someone else's stuff. And there's one particular program where the presenter goes to a recycling tip. You know, they just turn up and someone brings their old rubbish and it's about to go into the tip. And she goes to the back of the vehicle. She's got permission to do this, by the way, because she can't do this just off the back of your own thought process. You have to have permission from the local authority. But she goes to the person and say, "Oh, I see you're throwing this away. Would you mind if I have a look and see what I could do with it?" And they say, "Well, no, I'm just throwing it on the tip. It's no use to me anymore." And you will be amazed at what has been recycled. And you'd also be amazed at what people throw away. I mean, I've seen some antique, old, very old wooden oak furniture, solid oak furniture, which has got a few scratches and dents. It might have been in the garage for a while and it's got half a tin of paint that's stained in the corner. But people just throw it away. And she turns up and she says, "Well, we can recycle that into something else." And sometimes all they do is literally clean it up and sell it as a table, which is original purpose. Sometimes they turn it into other things. I mean, I've seen old metal vices, you know, the big metal vices that would be on your workshop that have got no use anymore, really, because we're moving into a different society. And they've turned them into lamps that hang on a wall, which are quite, you know, architectural and a bit rustic. You might call it something else, but it's very much the sort of the New York loft type arena where you would see all of these very industrial light bulbs and light fittings on a wall. So it's amazing what we can recycle. And if we start to recycle and think about recycling, we become a key component to the circular economy. Have you done any simple recycling? Have the kids done any simple recycling recently?
Well, I think the recycling has been done sometimes, but I think there are two critical factors that we need to very badly recycle, all humans across the globe. One is water, and second is electricity, because I think there's a lot of wastage, a lot of water gets wasted, and we should actually divide our water into gray, black, and pure water, drinking water. So none of most of these household do not have this gray water and black water separation. It is now regulation also, which is just come in few years back in India, where the large societies have been mandated to reuse the gray water in the bathroom and stuff like that. But I think there are so many independent houses, and India is a large country where there are more houses than societies, and none of these houses have a tradition of building the gray water separation, machinery or a plant or small outfit which will separate it so that you can reuse your gray water and black water can be wasted out. And also the watering the plant, when you're watering, you're wasting a lot. Washing your cars, so a lot of water is getting wasted. I think we need to come up with a way of reusing this water, and rainwater harvesting we should get in every household. And second thing is electricity. How do we generate electricity from right from the nature? Because electricity is available. There is a lot of sun, there is a lot of wind, and at a very low cost you can generate electricity. So I think these are the two things which are very critical for us to sustain.
You're absolutely right, CK. And the whole thought of a lot of people would never have heard of this term, and maybe they haven't heard of it now, grey water and black water. But I remember when we were going on cruises many years ago in last century, I was introduced to the concept of grey water and black water because on a ship, traveling around the Atlantic or the Mediterranean, you don't necessarily go into port all the time, and you've got limited resources. You've only got the amount of water that the ship can carry. It can't, at the moment, take seawater in, desalinate it, and make it into drinking water. The technology is coming. It's not quite there yet, but it is coming. So we have this grey water, black water arena. And I'd like to see, potentially someone in the future going into these car washes so that the recycling is all done in the car wash. So the only waste actually is the foam that's come off the vehicle. And maybe there's a use for that. So we can all do our little bit if we're smart. I mean, I remember when we had water shortages here, and we would literally be storing water in pans and reusing it out of the washing machine and tipping it down the toilet. So we were forced to do it. It's quite recent this happened as well. So it still happens today because we have a shortage of some of the main resources. You've hit the nail on the head. I think water is a massively reduced resource that we're all desperate for. And at the same time, electricity. There's lots of electricity we use and we waste. We turn lights on when we shouldn't turn lights on. And even in the UK, we've turned from these old filament type light bulbs into light-saving, energy-saving bulbs. So we've moved, fortunately, from one arena to another. And indeed, by 2035, I believe, we won't have a manufactured vehicle in the UK. You won't be able to buy a new vehicle unless it's electric. So we're moving in the right direction, but we can all do our little bit, really. And I think the challenge today is, recently you and I did a program about what would Mars look like? What would education systems, what would the legal system, recycling, we talked about food, waste, recycling. It's going to be millions of miles away. And what we need to be doing is thinking of how we're going to survive on Mars and doing it here. And there are some just Google circular economy. There are some great ideas out there, and you'd be quite surprised what you could do. One fact, we in the Western world, and I can only quote the Western world because it's quoted quite commonly, a third of all food goes to waste. Now that is not good news, is it? Imagine the tons and tons and tons of waste that we're generating. We're over providing. We're under using. And yet the Western world is obese. So it's not that we're not eating enough. you know, we're definitely eating enough, but a third of the manufactured food goes to waste. We need to be thinking about that, reducing our what we store in the fridge, changing our buying methods and thought processes, and looking at recycling in the big way. And that's what the circular economy will be today. So everyone can do a bit of this. Even the glasses that we've got on, CK. When you finish with your glasses, where do they go? In the trash can?
Yeah, that's a good question. They keep lying around because some of the frames are pretty good. We don't want to throw them, so they just keep piling on our real estate.
Well, the thing is, there's lots of people, there's lots of companies out there that recycle glasses. The Lions Club has a recycling process of glasses. The Rotary Club has glasses recycling. And, many parts of the world, people will be desperate for glasses. So the simplest things, don't just throw them away. Recycle them, find another use. And you'll be surprised, actually, if you Google it and you're about to throw something away, old frying pans, old cooking pans, if you Google it, someone will say, any old scrap metal will take from you. You give them a call and they come and pick it up. And hopefully it's recycled to an even better cause. So I hope this has given our viewers a bit of food for thought today on where we can go in the circular economy, how much you can do.
I think, Neville, this is a lifestyle change that is required to adapt or embrace the circular economy. All of us individually can adapt the ways of, how we can recycle instead of buying, because when we buy, we actually spend money. So we can save that money and store it for our future use. So instead of spending money, you can just find a way to create something new. You mentioned glasses. Soon there's going to be a Google Glass which is going to come up. There are other Samsung glasses which are going to come up. So then these glasses will become obsolete. So we never know. A new contact lens will come. So these glasses will have to find a new utility. So I think we can save the money by adapting new lifestyle, by introducing rainwater harvesting in our homes, separating grey water with black water, separate tanks, use grey water appropriately, use the right soap which is not harming the nature, biodegradable soap in our water, so that the water can be used, grey water can be used to water the plants, and so on. You can generate electricity off the roof. If you, I mean, especially in a country like India, there is a lot of sun. We can utilize our roofs. We can utilize the wind. There is a very windy country. There is a lot of heat here. There's a lot of wind here. We can utilize, um, and things like that. And also, you mentioned food wastage. Uh, I think it is also happening everywhere. It's not only in the Western world. Many times, the distribution cycles warrant the farmers to waste their food because they don't find it viable to take it to another center for selling. They just throw it away. So it happens here as well. But I think we need to change our lifestyle. I think it's all lifestyle changes. And you also mentioned about Mars. I think it's a complete example of recycle, because they breathe recycled air, they drink recycled water, and they probably eat recycled food. You never know. I don't want to talk more than that.
You'll be turning people off, really. But we do eat recycled food, There's a coffee that is very prevalent and very sought after in the UK, and it's recycled through an animal. When people hear that, they go, ooh, I'm drinking that coffee. Well, you didn't know it before, but you do know it now.
Right. So I think it's a lifestyle change, and I think as we go along, the circular economy will have to take linear economy behind, to leave the linear economy behind, because there are limited resources. and we need to recycle most of the stuff.
You're absolutely right. And just a passing thought today, recycling, certainly in the Western world, is a way of life. Every week, every day, we as a household, we have different bins that we put different materials into. In one, it's garden waste. In another one, it's food waste. In another one, it's glass. In another one, it's tin cans and plastic. So we're recycling in a big way. Where it actually goes, that's another interesting thought process. But at least we believe that someone's given the thought towards recycling, and therefore it's actually making this a better world. We're actually not, we have finite resources. We need to recognize that. We are now 7.4 billion people, and that is projected to double in the not too distant future, which is why people are thinking of Mars and colonizing the moon, because they know we're running out of opportunity here. We're running out of resources, but maybe we're not. Maybe we can go below the ocean. Who knows? It's been great speaking with you, CK. It's a really important subject, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about your own arena. Don't blame others. Just think about your own arena. What do you recycle? What do you make sure you give away to the right area? Like glasses. Are you just adding to your real estate in the house? Or are they going to be used somewhere where someone is desperate for glasses? There's always someone who can make use of your rubbish.
Absolutely. And thank you very much, Neville, for joining us today. It was a really pleasure talking to you on this very important subject. We'll catch up again tomorrow on something more interesting.
Thank you, CK. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye bye.